The Lorax is a child's book written by Dr. Seuss and published in 1971. It chronicles the plight of the environment and the Lorax, the main character, who speaks for the trees, and confronts the Once-ler, a business... Wait a minute. This is the wrong Lorax. Oh, yeah. Here's the right Lorax. The Lorax is a family musical comedy movie made in 2012 by Universal and Illumination. You know, Illumination, the animation company most known for Secret Life of Pets and Sing.
Wait, don't you mean Despicable Me and the Minions?
Shh! Don't you dare speak of their name. Oh no. Fine. Illumination is a American animation company, used to be named apparently Illumination Entertainment, founded by a man named Chris
Meledandri.
And it is a division of Universal Pictures as well as Comcast. They are most known for Despicable Me and the Minions, and if you want to be a little bit more recent, we can also add in the Mario movie to that. So you're probably wondering, what's with all the Lorax talk? Well, I recently watched the Lorax. I've always heard this was a terrible movie, and this wasn't just from people I know. This was just random. I've always seen people being like, no, the Lorax is a bad movie. Like, the Lorax is straight up bad. And I'm like, you know, I'll give it a try. One bored day I had. It was snowing. It was cold. And I was like, I guess I'll turn it on. So I turned it on, and I watched the Lorax. And oh, buddy, oh boy, do I have some words for the Lorax. So let me give you a quick summary of the movie from the Google page. 12-year-old Ted lives in a place virtually devoid of nature. No flowers or trees grow in the town of Theedville. Ted would very much like to win the heart of Audrey, the girl of his dreams. But to do this, he must find that which she most desires, a truffula tree. To get it, Ted delves into the story of the Lorax, once the gruff guardian of the forest, and the Once-ler, who let greed overtake his respect for nature. I feel like Google has got this absolutely wrong because it just does not explain what you actually watch when you watch this movie. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know what I expected when I watched this movie, and honestly, if you have not watched it and you care about Lorax spoilers, I'd stop right here and go watch the movie and then come back if you want to hear my poor man's summary, or I guess summary, overview, whatever you want to call it, of the plot of this freaking movie. Alright, so the movie starts with a horrible song. This is a running theme, and it shows our main protagonist, Ted. And bro literally only wanted a tree because a girl he liked trees. Desperate, if you ask me. Anywho, his grandma tells him if he wants to find a tree, look for the Once-ler. And to find the Once-ler, you have to give him some weird items. And here, I will list off the items. 50 cents, an old nail, and a great-great-great-grandfather snail. After he was told to bring those weirdo items to an old man in an abandoned building outside of town, you know, he goes off to start his adventure. After he goes off on his adventure, they show the main villain of the movie, Mr. O'Hare, aka Mr. I have the worst bob I've ever seen, Mr. I have baby bangs. As you can clearly see, I very much have something against this man's design. And another piece of his design that I have to complain about is his face fits perfectly in between his hair. Like, perfectly. If you get rid of all his hair, his face is just that small. Awful. Horrible. Why did they do this? And if I can't unsee it, neither can you. Anyway, he's with these two dudes. They're in a board meeting type situation, and they're giving off ideas for what he can sell next because, you know, he already sells air, if I didn't mention that already. Bro sells air to the people because they have very little air because there's no freaking trees or nature at all. And of course, he needs to find other ways to sell more air. So they recommended bottled air, and they showed a commercial for it, and it's the weirdest commercial, bro.
Well, here goes another lame Saturday.
Dude, I don't think so.
Huh? Hey.
Right here.
Man.
Yeah.
What? Yeah.
O'Hare Purified Air. Freshness to go. Please breathe responsibly.
It's based off of a beer commercial, and then the people come in and all this kind of stuff, and they're just huffing on air, which is wild, crazy work, literally huffing on air. I don't know how else to explain it, but like I don't know, whatever, man. It's just weird to me. Anyway, back to Ted. He's going outside of the town by going through like the alleyways and then finding the weird way out of town that's the only way out of town, which is like through the wall or something like that. Yeah, I'm explaining it poorly, but whatever. Anyway, he goes outside. He gets to see the outside world for the first time. And honestly, it looks like a nice place. In Fallout, bro, this place looks a post-apocalyptic. Like, the smog, the dead grass, the sludge in the water. Why? Where do they get fresh water if everywhere else is polluted? Huh? Oh gosh, now I've asked myself a question that I don't have the answer to, and I hate it so much. Anyway, he goes through the darkness, the smog, and all that good stuff, and he almost gets hit by one of the freaking abandoned tree cutter thingamajigs, and after a while he finds the abandoned house. So he brings the Once-ler, 50 cents, the rusted nails, and the great-great-great-grandfather snail, which, by the way, I think the Once-ler was going to eat, but, you know, no one has the time to discuss that, okay? Anyway, Ted asks him about the trees, and he's just like, trees? And no one's cared about trees in 8,000 years. And, you know, then he goes off and tries to explain the story to him, and Ted's like, yo, bro, I don't want to hear that. Sorry, I don't got time for that. I just want the tree. And he's just like, oh, if you want the tree, you gotta listen to the story. So, you know, he ends up telling him how the story started, why there's no trees. So, the Once-ler tells him how he left home to find something to make his feet out of. The feet is like this awful thing that exists, and I hate it. It looks like a onesie with a hole cut out the middle. I really don't know how else to explain it. It's awful. I think it's horrible. Anyway, him and his donkey finds the truffle tree forest where he meets the animals, and you know, they go through all these sequences, which, like, when they did the like marshmallow scene, which was directly after he nearly killed all the animals when he was trying to chop down a tree, they do like this marshmallow scene, and I honestly think this movie was just to show off their visual capabilities with their CGI animation, because there's no other way some of these scenes would not exist if it wasn't just to show off how good they are at 3D animation, okay? Anyway, when he cuts down the tree, it summons the Lorax. You know, the Lorax. He speaks for the trees.
What? I'm the Lorax, guardian of the forest. I speak for the trees.
Lorax basically tells him to back off and stop doing that. You know, don't freaking cut down trees. It's bad. All this kind of stuff. They go through the hijinks and stuff of that. And, yeah, then he stops talking to Ted and it's like, yo, you gotta come back tomorrow if you want the full story. And Ted's like, bro, I do not want to come back. And he's just like, if you want to hear it, you better come back. So, you know, Ted leaves and has to come back the next day. The next day, Ted has this weird daydream about Audrey and her birthday. It's just weird to me. I don't know. The entire thing is weird, and I literally think I seen someone draw the picture of him in that awful outfit before. I don't know what the freak it was. I think I seen it, but I don't know for sure. Anyway, you know, when he snapped out of his dream, they're having family game day because it's not night, but like, whatever. He plays the game until his mom gets annoyed with his grandma. Then his grandma's like, yo, you could go see the Once-ler again. Finish the story, basically. And he's like, okay, all right. He leaves to go try to see the Once-ler. Then he's stopped by Mr. I have the worst Bob on this planet once again. And he was like, you shouldn't be looking for no trees. It'll ruin his business, which I don't know why you're telling a 12-year-old kid this. Like, he's just gonna do it on purpose now, but whatever. Anyway, he ignores his warnings and he goes to see the Once-ler. And the Once-ler continues his story and tells him how the Lorax tried to drown the Once-ler before. You know, the Lorax straight up tried to drown this man. He literally sent him floating down the river. I'm not gonna lie, that is hilarious. They threw his bed into the water and he was floating down the river, and honestly, if they let that man drown, they would not be going through the rest of the movie. To hear me out. And you know, at that moment, I realized a few things of how we could have changed the way this movie went. First of all, the animals could have ate him. Then they wouldn't have to deal with the rest of the movie. Like, if they just ate the Once-ler, we wouldn't have to deal with the terrible pollution going on. Like, yeah, eat your problems. Anyway, he like nearly let the Once-ler die. Like, the Once-ler drowned because they went off the side of a waterfall. No, I'm not explaining everything, but they nearly went off the side of a waterfall, and like he fell and hit his back so hard on the ground when like they shot him upwards that he died. But you know, the Lorax saved him. Lorax is a somewhat good guy. You know, it's fine. They made it water under the bridge, and yeah, now he lives with the dusty, crusty, nasty animals, which that's not a half. And you know, he wakes up next to the Lorax in his bed, and I honestly would be terrified for my life, you know? Anyway, after that, he goes to go sell his theed, the first theed that he made. The villagers made fun of him, they broke his guitar, they threw tomatoes at him, and they literally made him give up the idea of selling the theed. So, you know, personally, I'm like, after watching those scenes, I don't think the villagers deserve air. Honestly, they deserve to breathe the toxic air. Sorry, that sounds wrong, but you know, honestly, the microplastics might give them more brain cells. I don't know, that's just what I'm saying personally. He throws the theed, it lands on a lady's head. Now everybody wants a theed. They find him singing the awful song, you know, marching to his house, and
It's a super trendy hat.
It's a tightrope for an acrobat.
And that's the catching butterflies.
yeah, that was the end of this time story. And the more I watched this movie, the more I was like, what is happening? I watched it twice, by the way, in like the span of a week. That's not normal. It's not fun either. So yeah, that's a hoot. That's a half. The next day or like a few days later, I really don't know. The concept of time in this movie is weird. Ted takes his grandma to the store and they see Audrey. His grandma's being a generic grandma, complimenting Audrey, being like, oh, it's the girl you're talking about, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, so everyone goes their separate ways. Audrey goes home to find out her wall mural has been painted by Mr. O'Hare. Oh no, drama. And also all of the ways to go outside the wall are locked up. Like, oh no, how is he going to, like this?
Whoa! Hey, I'm so sorry, so sorry. I want to see that.
He gets out of town and then he meets with the Once-ler once again and he continues the story. He tells him how he invited his family to help him with his business, and then you get the best scene and best line out of the movie.
You wouldn't hit a woman.
That's a woman?
Yep, perfection. Honestly, it doesn't make watching this movie worth it. Absolutely not. Anyway, his family pressures him to cut down some trees, and you know, because he's a weak coward of a man, he does it, and he starts cutting down some trees. The Lorax is like, don't forget your promise, and he's like, whatever, and he goes and still does it, and then you get the, honestly, the worst song I've ever heard.
Come on, how bad can it possibly be? How bad can I be? I'm just building the economy. How bad can I be? Just look at me petting this puppy. How bad can I be?
How bad can it be? Made me want to rip my ears off. But even if I did, sadly, I would still have holes, meaning I could still hear the awful song. After the song sequence where it shows how he was industrializing, they cut down all of the trees, and then he sees the Lorax or whatever, and the Lorax is like, hey dude, is this what you want? And he's like, oh, I have my rights, and
I have done nothing illegal, I have my rights, and I intend to keep on biggering and turning more truffula trees into thneeds.
and then the last tree gets cut down, and the Lorax is like, see, now look at all of them, all the animals, they have to go and find a new place to go. First of all, you get the scene where the fish looks genuinely traumatized, and for some reason, I find this so funny. I'm sorry. That fish looking like he literally been through war and back. It's hilarious. I'm sorry. That's a good one. Anyway, he finishes the story and tells them basically he's the one who ruined it, and Ted's like, how dare, basically, I can't believe it, you were the one who ruined it, and all this kind of stuff. And he's like, yes, I know, but this is blah, 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 this about something of finding the right person to have the seed. He gives Ted the seed, and Ted goes back into town. His house is being invaded by Mr. O'Hare. Mr. O'Hare is just being a short man as he is, and honestly, let's be honest, if they wanted all their problems to go away, he could have punted Mr. O'Hare. He's bigger than Mr. O'Hare. Punt him. Punt that man. And honestly, the Once-ler could have did it with the Lorax as well if he didn't want to be bothered. Just punt the Lorax and Mr. O'Hare. If they did that, then they wouldn't have to deal with it. Literally, it would have made it so much easier if they just punted Mr. O'Hare and the Lorax. Alright? In the words of my good friend Ashy, just punt those little suckers. Anyway, Mr. O'Hare destroys his room looking for the goddamn seed, because they seen he got the seed by, like, the cat thing. Yeah, I skipped past a bunch of it, alright. Yeah, anyway, after that, the seed is hidden, his grandma has it, and then they all see the seed, and they're like, we gotta save this. Audrey comes by, and she sees the seed, and he's like, we gotta save this. So they go on off the hijinks of the ending of the movie, which is like a chase scene, basically, to do this. And then they get to the middle of town, where they break the ground open, and they're trying to do it, and Mr. O'Hare comes saying some kind of weird speech about trees, and how they got bees and leaves and all that kind of stuff, and I'm just like, okay, yeah, you guys are losers. Anyway.
Folks, the last thing you want around here is trees. They're filthy, spewing that sticky, nasty sap all over the place. They bring poisonous ants and stinging bees.
Hey!
Ouch. Think about the kids. And I just thought, you know, they make leaves. You know that, right? And these leaves, they just fall. They just fall wherever they want.
So, then they go through all of this. They steal was it a bulldozer? It was not a bulldozer. It's the one with a claw. I don't remember the name of it. I'd have to ask someone what the name of it. If I ever get the name, I'll put it up on the screen. Anyway, they steal that machine, they break down the walls, and they show everyone how polluted and Fallout-esque the outside world is. Everyone's like, oh dang, oh my gosh. And they're like, we need trees, and then they go off and sing the song Let It Grow, which, by the way, I hate children singing, thank you very much. The little girl singing, literally worst part of my day. That sounds like I hate children, but I don't. I actually like kids, but I do not like that child.
My name's Marie, and I am 3. I would really like to see a tree. La 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 la. I said let it grow.
Anyway, they go on and all sing this. As my brother mentioned, they must have been practicing this for years to all be able to get together, dance, and do this. This is like flash mob material. Maybe the town is just musical. Who knows? But, you know, this seems like a group effort. Anyway, then you get the second best part of the movie, where the dude's singing Let It Die. Honestly...
Now, I say let it die. Let it die, let it die. Let it shrivel up and come on, who's with me, huh?
Sam! Anyway, no, they plant the tree, and everything's all good and dandy afterwards. They start growing trees. You get the last sequence of the movie, which is all of the trees, you know, slowly growing. The Once-ler finally comes out of his cage, even though I forgot to mention this. I didn't mean to call it a cage. I meant abandoned building. He wasn't in a cage. He should have probably been in a cage, but he's not in a cage. Anyway, they show this. The Lorax comes out. He's been wearing the same outfit for like 80 years. I don't know how long it's actually been, but you know, he's been wearing the same outfit for years. And the Lorax comes, they make amends and blah, blah, blah. I forgot to mention this earlier, but the Once-ler's literally dressed like the Riddler. I don't know why, but he is, and I hate it. But, yeah. That's basically the end of the story. I know I explained it like actual dog trash, but you deal with the way I explain things. If I was talking to you in real life, this is exactly how I'd explain this movie. So, yeah. Is it a poor man's explanation? Yes, but I'm assuming y'all did not come here for a good explanation of the Lorax. Alright, let's take a minute to talk about the book. I'm not gonna sit here and read the entire Lorax book for you guys, so I'm just gonna give a brief explanation. So in the book, it kind of goes like the movie, but instead Ted goes to the Once-ler, and the Once-ler just kind of retells the entire Lorax story. There's no villain, there's nothing. The book is simple. The entire premise of the book is, you know, environment, save the environment. The book ends with the Once-ler giving Ted the seed like in the movie, but there was no high-speed chase through the city or anything like that, of course. Instead, it was, like I said, quite simple and just kind of telling kids about what would happen if all the trees got cut down and stuff like that. And it's bad if something like that happened, which, you know, respectable premise. After reading the book, I realized that they absolutely illuminationified the Lorax. And if you're just like, what does that mean? Okay, so I've been watching quite a few Illumination movies. Not that Illumination movies are completely terrible. I've just been watching a few of them. And something I noticed through quite a few Illumination movies is how they make movies all go by a very similar formula. Like, let's say Despicable Me. I like Despicable Me. I'm gonna put that out there before anyone says anything. Despicable Me is like, there's a heartwarming part, there's the message, and then there's the villain. The villain in the movie made sense because of the entire like storyline of that. But you see that. But take that formula and kind of copy and paste it throughout the other Illumination movies. Like, I recently watched Migration, and there was a villain in the movie for absolutely no reason. I will explore on those movies eventually. I am making an entire video about Illumination and my issues with their movies, okay? And let me just say, the Illumination-ication of them is wild, alright? We'll get to that later. But the Lorax goes through a similar thing. The Lorax, it starts with a like general message that they're trying to do. They have heartwarming moments, and then they have a villain. To me, Mr. O'Hare doesn't make much sense. Look, you can argue with me, I do not care, but to me, he doesn't make a lot of goddamn sense. And the reason why he doesn't make any sense to me is because he's just a corporate guy, but his corporateness doesn't make a lot of sense. Okay, so Mr. O'Hare was just a random teenager when the Once-ler's business went under, and then he made Mr. O'Hare Air or whatever and became a multi-billionaire, alright, and started polluting the earth even more. My issue with that is his purpose is kind of like not there. I don't really see how he connects into the movie. Maybe I'm just overlooking things. Maybe I'm thinking of things more realistically. I don't know. But his purpose doesn't particularly fit for me. I feel like instead of making him some random guy, I really wish that they did something that really happens in businesses all the time. Once-ler's still a terrible businessman. That's great. That's fine. But they should have made it that he bought the Once-ler's business from underneath the Once-ler. Like, he bought the business from underneath him, and he slowly became the true villain of the movie because he bought the Once-ler's company and then started to make it more pollution. And then, you know, he turned into, instead of thieves, he started selling air under a smaller corporate branch. You know, I think it's something like that, okay? And no, is my idea completely perfect? No, I'm just feeling like that would make more sense to their message. The entire message of the Lorax, the book and the movie, is corporate pollution and the unnecessary cutting down of trees for profit. Like, literally logging industry. I feel like we could have had more, but you know, they just didn't do it the way I personally would have wanted it to be done. So that's one issue. Another issue that I genuinely have with this movie is the music. Oh my good heavens to Betsy. This movie should have not have been a musical. First, they should have hired someone who actually knew how to do a musical. Like, the first song in the movie and the last song to me makes sense. Everything else, I really wish I never had to hear any of that. Everyone needs a theme. I hate it. How bad can I be? I want to rip my ears off. Literally, it's so freaking bad. I don't know how else to explain it. It's so bad, and I hate it. I genuinely hate it. And look, I'm not gonna say I'm an expert on musicals. I do like some songs from Hamilton, and I also quite enjoy a lot of Disney movies. So I would say I have a general gist of what a, you know, musical should be, and that was not it. That was not it. I really hope they never do that ever again. That was horrible. Genuinely horrible. Here's another thing. I feel like a lot of Illumination movies are good animation, no substance. I don't know how else to explain it. Like, good animation, no substance. There's like so much good animation in the Lorax movie, but like it's not that great. Like, even dialogue wise, Lorax is strange. Like, almost everything that comes out of the Once-ler's mouth is kind of weird. I don't know how else to explain it. Maybe it's just me being nitpicky, but yeah, there's that. And last but not least, this is just a problem I have with Illuminations in general. I hate their art style. Look, I know everyone's gonna be like, oh, you're just picky. I am picky. I do not like the Illumination art style in the slightest. I think it is the ugliest thing on this planet. Genuinely, I hate the way everybody looks. This movie worked because it was based off of Dr. Seuss, but the problem is not all their movies are based off of Dr. Seuss, and for some reason, all of their characters look like that. Despicable Me, I accept it. All their other movies, absolutely not. Why do they look like that? Literally, I watched Migration, and this was the villain. Oh! I'm scared. Where is his chin? His jawline? Homie, please. Anyway, my overall opinion is I give it a 4 out of 10. Sorry, I did not like this movie. If you like this movie, that's completely fine. Honestly, write me a thesis in the comments of why the Lorax is actually good, and maybe I'll change my mind. But I'm not probably going to do that. I do not like this movie. I watched it twice within the span of a week. Everyone in my household does not like this movie either. They think it's genuinely mid, and I agree. My sister, she hates this movie basically, so I'm like, yeah, I understand. There's just nothing redeemable about this movie except some of the lines. Everything else, I just cannot. I do not deal with it. I do not like the Lorax. Was this entire video just a roundabout way of me saying that I don't like the Lorax? Yes, absolutely. Did I waste like a clean, I don't even know how many minutes of my time talking about the Lorax? Absolutely, I did. Did I waste days on editing this video? 100%. I don't know. I just want to talk about the Lorax. Honestly, if you want to see more videos like this, give me a recommendation for something for me to watch. I watch kids stuff, not really adult stuff, but I'll talk about it too. Like, let's go. I'm just tired of Illumination movies, to be honest, but I'm gonna watch all of them and make a video about it, so, you know, yeah. Well, if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and subscribe and stay tuned for my future video on how to catch and cook a Lorax.